Hello, welcome to Prime Business with me, Emma Davis. Let's settle for the details. With barely 10 months to the general elections, newly appointed Minister of Finance, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, has been entreated to focus on growing and running a more inclusive economy. According to economist Dr. Patrick Isuming, it will be suicidal if he repeats the mistakes of his predecessor by leveraging on borrowing and capping into existing cash flows of specific sources. Speaking to Joy Business, Dr. Isuming urged Dr. Amin Adam to be forthright with the economic direction of the country.
He will begin to think of the economy in a slightly different way from his predecessor, in terms of focusing too much on leveraging, that is the borrowing, and then also tapping into existing cash flows. That has led to what some people call mortgaging of some of our future cash flows from specific sources. And that he'll think more broadly about growing the economy first, and then before we benefit from the rewards of a growing economy. That's what I think that if he does that, and then also it's a little bit more forthright about where we are headed, and then more frank about where the economy is headed and what has to be done, and more engaging with, especially with the business side, and maybe run a more inclusive way of thinking about the policy options. Probably that will help him.
The business community has expressed worry about the impacts the new Minister of Finance, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, would have on the economy. Speaking to Joy Business, Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mark Bedua-Boaje, said 9 months is not enough for anyone to change the current happenings in the economy.
Competent enough to run the ministry. However, I think that looking at the circumstances around this time, it will be extremely difficult for him to turn things around. At best, what we know is that our fiscal policies and our budget for 2024 are all based on the IMF conditionalities. So I don't see how one person will be able to change the policy prescription of IMF. So I don't think that is going to have any meaningful impact on the business environment within these 10 months that we have. As a chamber, we'll continue to work with him, but as to whether we'll be able to miraculously reduce inflation from its current level to a lower level, or reduce a policy rate and also reduce the lending rate, is something that I don't think we'll be able to do within this period of time. He may be good. And we are all hoping that we would have been able to turn things around and improve the environment for the business community. But looking at the current situation, I doubt it will be able to make any significant impact in the business environment.
Let's talk inflation as senior finance lecturer at the University of Cape Coast Business School, Dr. Sairam Kaur says a decline in inflation does not mean that prices have dropped. Inflation for the month of January has risen to 23.5%, according to the Ghana Statistical Service Consumer Price Index. Reacting to the latest inflation figures, Dr. Kaur called for new measures to be taken to prevent a further rise in inflation owing to the surge in dollar demand.
The rate of inflation, I have consistently maintained that it is not the decline that we see does not mean that prices have dropped, but rather the prices have been increasing at a decreasing rate. And so once we have seen that, what we need to look at is that we need to look at measures that will enable us to control the rate of inflation that we've had. The delay in IMF bailout, a second tranche of the money, might have also contributed to what we have seen. So once there is a surge on the dollar, what we're going to say is that the rate of imports will go up. Once we have the rate of imports going up, then we are going to see a rise in the prices of commodities that we see in the country. And remember that we import most of the things in the country. Once we are importing most the things, that is the effect that we're going to have. Yeah, so for government to look at the rate of inflation, which is largely due to the surge we have seen in the dollar rate, what government needs to do is to look at the duties at the port. We need to streamline the duties at the port. Prices of commodities are going up because importers are paying so much in terms of duties. And these duties are aligned with the dollar. And so when the dollar surges, then the duties also increase. There has been a lot of taxes that have been introduced this year.
Okay.
We have the emission, we have the other bet tax and all other taxes. These taxes are not going to be paid by the sellers, the traders, or the manufacturers. They are going to push these taxes to the consumer. And so these taxes can also give rise to what we are seeing today. Per the Vice President's assertion in his vision for the country, where he said that some of these taxes will be abolished.
Okay.
And he's part of the government. They should try to abolish those taxes now so that the country will benefit from them, and not to wait until election or after election.
Government has allocated 11.6 billion cedis in the 2024 budget to settle arrears owed contractors to enable them to return to the sites to complete ongoing projects across the country. Meanwhile, the Deputy CEO of the Public Procurement Authority, Kwame Prempeh, has raised concerns about the increasing rate of unbudgeted projects being executed by contractors. He spoke in an interview with Joy Business on the sidelines of a training workshop in Dodowa.
The Deputy CEO of the Public Procurement Authority, Kwame Prempeh, says the incorporation of the Ghana Integrated Financial Management Information System, GIFMIS, and the Ghana Electronic Payment System will help reduce the increase in arrears owed contractors. He spoke to Joy Business on the sideline of the Ghana Chamber of Constructions and Industries nationwide capacity training program at Dodowa.
How these arrears build up mostly is because contracts are being given out where there is no commencement, there is no funds to facilitate those contracts. And over the years, it increases, where an enthusiastic head of entity, because of course they want to get projects done, they want to get the roads built, but it has to sit within the revenue of government. So if at a particular year, government has not made provisions for that particular road or that particular building or that particular service, and you go and execute that, then that is where the arrears build up, because there's no provisions in the budget to pay those activities. And then over the years, it keeps building up. So with this system in place, when there's integration with GANEP's, the commencement, that is, the approval to start or to start a particular project, or the approval that the budget is available, will be done in GIFMIS, and that information will go into GANEPS. So when there is no approval or there is no commencement approval, you will not be able to start the process, which will reduce the arrears that have been built up over the years.
Meanwhile, the president of the chamber, Emmanuel Cherry, urged contractors to exercise caution and conduct due diligence before undertaking any major project.
If you don't have that project listed on that platform, my brother, forget about it. But most contractors, out of, I don't know, anxiety, or is he being carried away that I don't know exactly what comes to them. People hold contract documents, say, I'm selling contracts. How much? 100 million. He's carried away. Hearing the total sum of total contract sum, he's thinking that there's so much money. He has already calculated his interest, profit, 10 million or 20 million, thinking that it's a good deal. Without doing the due diligence, conducting the necessary investigation into that particular project, who are the awarding agency? Who is going to be the pay agency?
The training program was organized in collaboration with the Ghana Skills Development Fund, the Commission for Technical and Vocational Education and Training, the PPA, the Cyber Security Authority, and the Ghana Institute of Safety and Environmental Professionals.
It has always been a special day for lovers and families to rekindle their affection friendship and admiration for one another. Valentine's Day in Ghana is marked largely with sharing of chocolates, bouquets of flowers, among other love souvenirs. But are the exchanges of these gifts still in vogue? In this special report, Emmanuel Bright Kweku took to the streets of Kumasi to explore the sale of Valentine products on the market. I hope you showed some love to someone out there on this Valentine's Day. That's how we wrap up today's edition of Prime Business. My name is Emma Davis. For more business news, do log on to myjoyonline.com. I leave you with international business, after which is Prime Sports. Please stay.